We're back. Back in action.
Back in action.
And so today we're going to do the review
Yes.
of our favorite law from the law 9 through 16.
Correct.
So every 8 laws, we pick our favorite. And I have mine, which is very difficult. I had a top 2, but I ended up going with 1. And you have yours. We haven't reviewed them yet.
We haven't talked about it. And that's the key.
Yeah.
Not to talk about it before the podcast on the review.
We did our own homework.
Right. Separate.
So you want to start?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. So the law that that I connected with the most was law number 10. And law number 10 is infection. Avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. That law, where he talks about you can die from someone else's misery.
Oh.
Somebody can pull you down. You may feel like you're helping the drowning man, but you're actually precipitating your own disaster. For me, I feel that that law is one that I implement daily. I try to avoid situations and people that I think are infectious as much as possible. And I think that we were talking about it yesterday. You are who you hang around.
Oh, yeah.
And so at one point in time, I was hanging around people that we were partying more, we were going out more. It was just leading to more problems. And the moment that I stopped hanging out with those people and kind of started hanging out with people who had similar goals and ambitions
or different goals and ambitions.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking like similar to mine.
Right.
Different, but they wanted to get somewhere in life. It wasn't just about partying, this and that. My life also changed.
We talked about that this week.
We did.
With the business owner.
Yep.
Where he said that, no names, but he said that a family member, there's always a party on the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And, every weekend there's a party. It's either a birthday, a baptism, this, that, whatever.
And usually at parties is alcohol.
And I can relate to that because there's a lot of parties going on. You know?
Yeah, and if you don't have in your head, hey, I'm not going to participate in either this party, or I'll go but I won't participate in the alcohol or the this or the that, whatever's being done at that party. For me, this one was a big one, and I could say a lot about it, but I want to hear yours, and then we can dive a little deeper maybe.
Okay. Well, I'm very glad that we did our homework independently, which, by the way, we do that all the time. We independently do the research once we pick the topic.
Of course.
But something that was very interesting to me very difficult to pick one, okay? And like you, I had 2 top ones. But I did something that was interesting to me. I'm always trying to figure out, do a hack on my mind or a hack on my brain, a computer hack my character or something, trying to figure out, because I want to get to know myself a little better, okay? And so here's what it is. This book, this 48 Laws of Power, I believe was published in either 1998 or 99, something like that, a long time ago. Because I remember reading this book for the first time, I think it was the end of 2003, when I first got exposed to these laws. And I thought it was an amazing thing, okay? Then I ended up buying the book later on and stuff like that. But what I did this time around was an experiment on myself. I went through laws 9 and 16. I picked the law that I like best. But I have a ledger going back years. And I went back and I found my ledger from 2017, where I had reviewed the book. And in 2017, I picked a law. And the law that I picked in 2017 was law number 9. Win through your actions and not your arguments. Back then in 2017, that law was the most important law to me out of these 8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Guess what? Without going back and remembering that, I picked a different law today. Today I'm 64 years old. I'm in a different stage in my life.
Yeah, 2017 is, you're talking 6 years ago.
6 years ago. It's not that long ago, but yet it is.
You're a different person.
I'm a different person today.
Yeah.
And you know what? I picked a different law today. So it's interesting to me. This kind of stuff is very interesting to me because I have the privilege, I guess, that I still have some of these logs, these daily logs that I use. And I just put down what I think is most important in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, well, I went and looked it up. Back then, in 2017, I picked law number 9. Today, in 2023, what was most important to me was number 10.
Oh.
Yeah,
Same one as
avoid the
mine.
unhappy and the unlucky. I think that maybe I'm hanging around you too much. You know, it's falling onto me. Maybe I'm hanging around with you too much, but
No, yeah.
that was the most important one to me today.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because out of my top 2, Law 9 was the one that I was, it was out of all of them, I narrow it down to 2. And this morning, I went over. I said, which one do I use more? Which one do I live by more? And I think it's Law 10. I believe in Law 9. And I remember at one point in my life, I was very, very young, starting in the financial world, in sales. And I told a manager that hired me, I'm going to produce this amount of money, these 6 figures, this big number. And he was kind of like, okay, I could tell he didn't believe me. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to go out and do it because he doesn't believe me. And why should he? And I'm here trying to not necessarily convince him, but I was trying to say, hey, I'm going to do this and that. Yeah, everybody says something. But win through your actions. Hey, I did this already. I accomplished this. So for me, it was very difficult, but I stick to Law 10 because, even I had a few buddies that I can think of that I used to hang around all the time, and good guys. But every time, I would end up in trouble. Every time I would hang around with them, it was trouble. And and it was fun because you're going out and I'm in my early 20s at that time, but it was always, and I said so I stopped hanging as much, and then all of a sudden
less
trouble. Wow, what a coincidence. It's not that they maybe even intentionally do it. Maybe it's just some people, they just have that going on in their life. They're at that space in their life. It's not like they're purposely trying to bring you down. Like I had shared that story about that one kid in summer school that was drowning, and I went over from the edge to go save him. And first thing he did was put my head underwater because it was survival. And that's how he was going to survive. I don't remember how I came out of that, to be honest. But I don't remember if a teacher came or what happened.
Somebody
must have
saved both
come,
of you,
or I
because
must
now
have,
there's 2 drowning.
or I must have, he got his air and then he was okay to go on, and then maybe I got to the ledge. I don't remember. But I do remember the first thing he did was put my head underwater. Because I wasn't, trained in...
Of course.
In saving people. But you shared with me, hey, first thing you do is you come around the back and you got to be...
Well, before you get to them, like 3 feet before them, you submerge down, and then you go to the level of the legs and you just turn them around. Then you come back up the back and you get a grip of their hair just above the neckline. I mean a real strong grip to a point that you hurt them. So that I remember the lifeguard that was teaching me telling me, you got to hurt them. and don't feel bad about hurting them. You got to pull that hair hard.
What if they're bald?
Well, or if they're bald, you got an issue.
Knock them out a little.
Yeah, you got to go sideways, or I don't know. But
because they're panicking.
They're panicking, and that's going to tell them, hey. And at the same time, it's going to wake them up from their panic. And number two, is going to tell them, oh, this guy's going to help me.
Yeah.
So to a certain extent, you calm them down to a certain extent. When they see that they're able to float. Because then you bring them back up, But who knows that? I mean, not many people know that.
I didn't know it as a kid.
You're a kid.
I wasn't trained, but...
Yeah.
I know that in the 48 Laws of Power, specifically regarding Law 10, is the one that Robert Greene talks about, Lola Montes.
Right.
That she was just, whoever she got tangled with ended up bad.
It was their downfall.
It was their downfall. It was just a person that...
And you know what? In my lifetime, I've seen some people like that.
You've met Lolas?
I've met Lolas and Lolos.
Yeah.
Throughout my life, that they just always have something going on, And now with the power of Instagram, which takes a lot of my time. I'm on social media a lot. I'm trying to learn things. And Chas Parmentary, that's how you say his name?
Yeah.
He comes up, he's got a real good saying, because he says, look, if you're meaning well and your intentions are good intentions, you can try to bring somebody up, but if that effort doesn't come from within, you're never going to do it. But the reverse is not the same case. Someone that's poisonous, or someone that is infectious, unhappy, unlucky,
toxic,
they're going to bring everybody down. They're going to bring you down, according to Chas, all the time.
Yeah.
So he always says, I run in the opposite direction from these unlucky, unhappy people.
And also the energy that it takes to try and, get somebody to do something they don't want to do, or try to change somebody, to be positive, or stop doing these habits, when it's not coming out of them.
Right. That's why he says it's got to come from them.
Yeah.
If you're well intentioned, but the opposite is not in the same strength. The opposite is they'll take you down. They're going to take you down 100% of the time, according to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he reflects on the movie. What's the name of the movie that he did with Robert De Niro?
The Bronx Tale.
The Bronx Tale. He reflects on that a lot. And he's been on the streets. He's out on the road. He's experienced a lot of stuff. It's a good advice that he gives.
Yeah. The difficult part here is, what if that person's family? What if that person's a close friend? Those are difficult situations. And I think Robert Greene is talking about, well, I mean, if I were to put myself from his perspective, he would probably say cut him off.
That's what we did with a family member. I sat down, spoke to my spouse, and said, hey, this can't go on like this. And we got a lot of grief for it. And it's an extremely difficult decision to make. But we did it many years ago because we felt that this person was very toxic. And unfortunately, we have not had any contact with that person. But it will create problems.
Yeah.
Because it was on the other side of the family. And if my wife was not behind me 110% with this decision, it would create conflict in the marriage.
Absolutely.
Because I knew that this was an issue and it did create conflict. Yeah,
there would be probably conflict no matter what.
There would,
if you address it and if you don't.
Yeah. So there was, and then fortunately, in our family we had a family priest that came in and advised us both on the decision that we had taken.
Yeah.
And so.
It's difficult.
It's difficult because after you make your decision, you get all beat up by maybe one or two family members or more that are not in agreement with the decision that you have made. That's number one, because this was a very close family member. And then the other thing that comes into play, at least with me, is that as a year goes by or 2 years go by and there's no contact, you ask yourself, did I make the right move?
Right.
You start second guessing yourself. And what I learned over the years is when you make a difficult decision like this, you cannot look back. Okay? Unless there's a major shift in the condition. But
you stand by what you decide.
Yeah, you have to. In that person's life, unfortunately, it hasn't been all that good.
Yeah.
So, what do you do?
Yeah. I mean, those are the difficult decisions in life that.
Yeah.
I mean, and what's interesting is in this law, he's saying avoid the unhappy and unlucky, because when I think of luck, I think of something that that just happens to you. Oh, you're lucky. You're a lucky guy. You're a lucky girl. But even somebody who's fallen in under bad luck, he's saying stay away from him.
It's silly, but I like gambling, right? And you gotta have this feeling, this mojo, right, about luck.
Yeah.
And I remember one particular time when there was this machine I wanted to play, and this lady was sitting at it, but she wasn't playing, and she wasn't looking at the machine. She was looking to the side. She was just like this, waiting. She was just using it as a chair. And I said, are you going to play? And she said, no. You want to play? I just finished. And I said, sure, if you're not going to play. And so, I kid you not, she got up, I sat down, I put a little bit of money in it, and on the second spin, I won a nice chunk of money. And she had sat on the other machine, and she got very upset with me.
Really?
She got very upset with me. She told me, that's my money.
Really?
Yes. And so I looked at her and I said, well, I use my money, so look, I wish you good luck. And I walked away right away because I didn't want, it felt
to
real
continue
negative.
To play there.
Yeah, so I just cashed out and walked away.
The vibes were not
there, and this is silly and superficial type of example, but it's something that came to mind because she got very upset when I hit.
Yeah.
And she says, that's my money. You took my money.
But I think there is something to that. Like if you're in a good state, you got good energy going on, people gravitate towards that. Right?
Yeah, when you're playing craps, right, and you're shooting for the numbers, you have that energy at the end of the table.
Yeah, some tables
and people, stand together, and there's something about that.
Yeah.
I think,
Or, associating yourself with people that bring some value, bring something to the table, are positive-minded. Like, I was texting a good buddy of mine yesterday about a couple books that I picked up, and I was recommending a couple books to him. He was recommending a couple books to me. It's like, and these are all books about improving oneself.
Self-improvement.
So those are relationships, and those things, that multiplies. So if you can avoid the infectious and instead surround yourself with good, not necessarily with good, but surround yourself with people who are also on maybe a path similar.
Yeah, like-minded, right?
Like-minded, want to grow, want to have positive energy.
Improve themselves.
Things come from that.
Absolutely. When you bought the books,
the
guy that sold you the books, right? You said something that he made some comments on it, right?
Yeah, I went to the bookstore, and the gentleman that rang me up ended up being the manager of the store.
Okay.
And the first book that we were gifting was Meditations.
Okay.
And there was another book under, but he didn't see the second book. So Meditations, he said, that's one of my favorite books. Rings it up, and then the next book was The Four Agreements. And he says, that's another one of my favorites. Oh, wow. And he gave me a discount and everything. And then yesterday I went again to
But
the
wait a
books.
minute. Didn't he recommend a book?
I asked him.
That's what I'm getting at.
I asked
Because,
him. Yeah.
oh, you asked him.
Because he saw both books.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's great he gave you a discount.
Yeah, well, no, when I went the second time yesterday, because he saw both books and he says, "Oh, I actually give this one to my employees when they're having a little rough time and they need to pick up more positive this and that." He gives them the book to read, and then
Super cool. Look at that. Just from ringing up those books.
and he was the manager, and so I said, "Hey, since you like these books and I read both and they're great, what other book would you recommend that's kind of in this lane?" I asked him.
That's very cool.
And
I love that.
He said the Untethered Soul. The Untethered Soul. So I bought that one yesterday.
I haven't read that one.
No, I haven't either.
I haven't read that. The Untethered Soul.
So when I went back yesterday,
was he there?
I bought. Let me think. When
You
I
bought a
went
few
back yesterday, I actually bought 3 books. I bought 3 books yesterday, but he gave me a discount, a couple bucks off extra, this and that. And then I told him, "Look, I'm here." I went with him, and I said, "Look, I'm here buying this book because of you."
That's cool. He's not going to forget you.
Yeah, he said, "Oh man," and then he said, "I'm now reading some nonfiction. No, I'm now reading some fiction and different kind of books because all the staff here, I'm always recommending to them nonfiction, and they say all I read is nonfiction. So I'm proving to them I also read fiction." So he's now reading a fiction book, and he recommended it. But yeah, I think if you surround yourself with people like that.
Oh, I think so too.
We've even been in places where one guy came up to us and said, "Hey, cool guy. Hey, you guys look like you're into something. You guys look like you're positive guys doing something on the move."
I remember I was at the coffee place. What do you guys do for a living?
Just because we try to give that vibe, but everybody, you go through different days. Sometimes.
Yeah, not every day is. Sometimes people have to make an effort
Absolutely.
to get to do whatever they have to do, and not every day is an up day, but you got to make the best of it for that particular day. And so law number 10 at this point in my life, okay, was the most important one.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to me because I did pull the ledger, and then 6 years ago, law number 9 was the most important one to me. So it goes to show you things are not static. Things change. And it was a surprise to me because honestly, Mike, I expected to pick the same law. I thought, what has changed? Well, apparently some things in me have changed.
Absolutely.
Over the course of these, and like I told you the other day, as these books were not out as I started my career in business, and then when these books came out, as I look back, I remember instances that could potentially apply to this law or that law, and
yeah.
Had I known about this book, had this book been published before, which is impossible because Robert Greene would have, he did in 1998. I didn't, but anyway, I probably would have reacted differently, and the outcome possibly would have been better.
Yeah, I think that it would have helped you.
Yeah,
because it's kind of like a guide almost.
Right.
Like this could be going on. They could be playing this game of chess on you. You can maneuver this way to grow within. You were in a corporation, right? A part of a corporation.
Yes.
And there's lots of players, and lots of egos, and lots of power struggles, and in any organization, right?
Right. So, exactly. And
cool.
that goes for families, because family is also an organization.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of stuff going on in families,
Oh, yeah.
And, you just do the best you can with what you've got. But the more you read, I heard somebody say that the best way to accept advice from people is to read the books that they have put together. Because there are quite a few people out there that are authors that have poured their life into their books. And you read those books, then you have the privilege of their mindset. And they sort of like going through the book, they're giving you advice. And so it's very interesting, and you know.
And also, you can go back and read the same book, and it hits you different, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Because you're a different person, because you've grown, because you've had different experiences.
Exactly. Exactly.
So very cool. It's
yeah.
it's interesting that we both happen to pick the same law. Out of 9 through 16, we both picked law 10. But in the first 8 laws, we each picked a different one.
Correct.
So we'll link that up.
I think I'm potentially hanging around with you too much.
Or maybe it's that good of a law.
And I just want to give a thank you and a shout out to the gentleman that said, hey, you guys have gone past law 16, and you promised that you would pick one law out of every 8.
Yeah.
So
keeping us accountable.
I'm requesting that you pick that law. So it was really cool to read that. I don't know who you are, but let me tell you, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening, and
Yeah.
We're enjoying this.
We're enjoying this. Thank you very much, and I hope it helps
you guys are too.
a little bit our 2 cents.
Cool. Thank you.
All right.